Hi, everyone. I'm Alice, host of House's UK Radio. I'm here today with Joe from Aztec at Noircon. Very excited to have you here today, Joe.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us. I think this is the third Noircon. Was it the entry one, Noircon 0, but I missed the one in the middle. But yeah, it's been amazing to be here, and thanks for having me on.
Yeah, nice. And got a full house today, so really excited to see all the presentations, all the attendees come. So Joe, since you're a co-founder of Aztec, really wanted to hear more of the origin story of how Aztec first got started when you and Zach first co-founded. And maybe you could also shed some light into the need for privacy guarantees in the Web3 space, especially since a lot of blockchains now operate on that transparency trust model. So I wanted to hear some more about kind of the origins relating to Aztec.
Yeah, so we've been building Aztec for kind of nearly 7 and a bit years now. So it's been a while. I didn't used to have grey hair at the start. But we actually didn't start out trying to build Aztec. So we were trying to put various kind of financial instruments onto Ethereum and kind of disintermediate the banks, give people kind of better access to savings and just financial infrastructure. And the way we started that was trying to put this particular type of loan onto Ethereum. And the people who create that loan, they're kind of institutions, they're not quite banks, they're called debt funds. And we realized after about a year, trying to do this, that the resounding kind of feedback was this is great, but blockchains solve all these problems, but we're not going to leak all this information about our portfolio, which assets we hold, when we're trading, to the whole world. And so privacy just became this kind of prerequisite for even attempting this company that we were trying to build. And Zach Zach had a background in physics, but he could understand enough of the cryptography to work out what our options were. I think back then Zcash was going to move to Ethereum. This was 2017, 2018. That never happened. And so we ended up having to kind of build out some technology ourselves, which was kind of a backronym was Aztec. It stands for Anonymous Zero Knowledge Transactions with Efficient Communication. But it was just this open source kind of GitHub project, this thing we had to build to try and achieve that company. We realized pretty quickly that nothing was actually going to be possible on any public blockchain that wasn't kind of speculation or something that was derived from the native asset like Ethereum. And so yes, you could trade things and you have these amazing DeFi protocols, but it's all not it's not real world. And so if you wanted real world adoption, you need privacy of some degree for that to exist. And so then we kind of came to this realization that we needed to build privacy infrastructure to help Ethereum get that adoption. And so then we pivoted to building Aztec as a network. We always wanted to kind of build this network that had private smart contracts, full programmability, but we couldn't do it in 2018, 2019. The tech was just not, it wasn't possible. The cryptography wasn't there, the ZK wasn't there. And so along the way, we've been pushing the boundary of what was possible with ZK. Zach and kind of Ariel, our cryptography team, have invented Plonk, all these new kind of proving systems that enable kind of efficient client-side proving. And every step of the way, we've tried to build a product that kind of showcases what's possible along the way. And so in kind of 2020, 2021, we built kind of asset-based privacy. Some people may remember kind of Aztec V2 or ZK Money. It was basically you could just do private payments, but it used some of this technology to show where the cutting edge of privacy was on Ethereum. We then updated that in 2022, 2023 to Aztec Connect. You could now kind of interact with DeFi on Ethereum, but privately. It was an extension of kind of the payments. And now we're finally at a point where the technology is, the cryptography and the ZK proving systems are fast enough where we can build a fully private smart contract network. So in the older versions of kind of Aztec, we would define a program. It was a simple payment, and that's all you could do on the network. And we've been trying to get to this holy grail where a developer can write their own program. They can use Noir and deploy it to this network, and they define what privacy is suitable for that application. And so we've taken kind of a bit longer than maybe we anticipated when we set out in 2018, but we're now at this point where it's possible, it works, we have a testnet, and you can now have any developer write a program, a smart contract, deploy it to this network, and get very strong privacy guarantees as a result. So yeah, it's been a bit of a journey, but we set out to kind of build, I guess, the network we wish we'd had in 2018, and I think you could finally build that use case. We're not going to build it. There's also other people trying things like that now, but yeah, I think that's kind of how we got it.
Yeah, nice. It's really great to hear kind of the progression of that journey into making privacy programmable. Like what you mentioned, first you focused on the asset level use case, and then turned into user level, and now users could just write programs and Noir generate proofs from them. So really great to see that progression going along. And just on the topic of the recent testnet release, was wondering if you wanted to let any of the audience members know how they can get more involved, and then also just on the team side, if there were any sort of learnings or any sort of like results you've seen so far that you're taking into consideration as you're going onto the road towards mainnet.
Yes, I think that there's a few things that the testnet's kind of achieved that I think are maybe first. Like a lot of kind of networks that are kind of just public L2s or kind of like other testnets are normally fairly centralized. Privacy is this amazing kind of like tool, this human right, but it's quite polarizing. Like there's always a tension between the desire of an individual to have privacy and the state to have surveillance. And if you have kind of privacy that's owned or controlled by an entity, it's usually corruptible. And so we've seen over kind of like the course of history with email privacy in like the 90s, like web privacy with SSL certificates in like early 2000s. There's always a tension point around like what privacy should look like. And so we've had, as a result, we designed the testnet to be fully decentralized. So like we don't control it. It's just open source cryptography. And so we've learned quite a lot in doing that, because building a decentralized network is really difficult. But I think we've succeeded there. Like we've had about 20,000 nodes try and like take part. I think the validator set's currently over 1,000 and growing. And so I think that the testnet's been like relatively stable. There is the biggest issue we have is kind of like Sybil issues. So on a testnet, there's not a good Sybil mechanism because there's no value. And so we've been trying to solve for that. And actually, ZK is quite a good solution. One option we have is to kind of build in like a proof of humanity, like a proven passport, to make sure one person can want one node. So that's kind of the main learning, is trying to overcome like, I guess, Sybil issues and bots on a test network where there's not much cost to spin them up has been a challenge, but the network's been resilient. We've run it for over 6 weeks now. It's kind of had periods where it's degrading because it's never gone down. So yeah, we think it's a big success. On the developer side, it's also been really good opportunity for like a lot of the Noir ecosystem to test out what's possible on Aztec. And so normally, a Noir proof or a ZK proof, it can be executed anywhere. So I can prove something to you. If I give you the proof, you can verify it. We don't need a blockchain. You need a blockchain or something like Aztec when there's some state that changes as a result of the proof, or we don't trust each other. So it's been great to kind of see the community of, I guess, Noir developers go from like building their first kind of proofs, which are just like these like ephemeral things that prove facts about private information, to building them into applications. And so thinking through like how you use proof of humanity in a network, how you build token standards in a private world has been really cool to see. And so we've had a lot of developers kind of go in and, I guess, embrace, dive headfirst into this new world and figure out what private applications actually look like, because it's a new universe compared to like Ethereum, where everything's public by default.
Right, exactly. And I really like how you kind of mentioned that when building out testnet, you were looking to make it decentralized from the get-go. So it's really great to hear that, privacy and also decentralization, those can go hand in hand without having to make compromises on either side. And yeah, really, really great to hear that. And just in terms of Noir, I'm very curious to hear about some of the like advantages that come with you guys making your own ZK-DSL, and maybe you can also shed some light onto perhaps some advantages compared to some other solutions that try to build like upwards of the abstraction layers. Like, for example, there's like many ZK VMs in the market right now, and that try to converge away from developers having to learn an entirely new language to be able to like prove their programs. But wanted to hear more just from the like from your side some of the advantages that come with creating your own ZK-DSL.
Yes, I think the main reason that like Noir exists is because before Noir, like if you were building any application that kind of needed ZK and you had to write a circuit, you had to be a cryptographer, you had to kind of have like at least like a PhD in maths, you had to understand at a very fundamental level like what constraints were, what gates were, and like really have an in-depth knowledge of the underlying proving system and cryptography to write something that was secure. And that doesn't really scale. It's like there's probably 50 to 100 people in the world who could do that very well, and like the learning curve is very steep. And so the early versions of Aztec, those kind of payments products, like we wrote that in C++, like Zach and the crypto team were like hand rolling these circuits, and you can build some tools to help you, but it's very like advanced kind of programming, and that's not conducive to kind of like real world adoption. Like the average blockchain developer or someone who's building like an actual useful application doesn't have that skill set. That they're focused upon user experience, like that actually solving like a pain point for the user. And so one of the main things that Noir brings is it just lets you not have to think about the cryptography. And so if you know Rust, it has a lot of syntax, you can write programs and the cryptography kind of gets abstracted away from you. This makes things like audits a lot easier, and it just means you can do a lot more. We've seen this at Aztec, so like Noir's not Aztec specific, it's just a general purpose language for writing zero knowledge programs. Aztec, the network, is written in Noir, which is like a kind of crazy like dog fooding kind of thing, but it meant that we could go from like a team of like 5 people who could help build the network to like 30 engineers who now could write Noir circuits and kind of help contribute. So just that expanding kind of like talent pool, because it's a lot easier to kind of like now write these circuits, is I think the main reason. The other one kind of maybe compared to ZK VMs is there's 2 properties of zero knowledge. One is kind of verifiable compute, and the other is privacy and like hiding information. Noir does both, but ZK VMs don't normally do that. They can if they run on the client side, but most of them can't today. And so what they're actually doing right now is take any language, compile it to some instruction set, and prove the program was executed correctly, and that happens on some server somewhere. For Noir, if you're trying to kind of hide secrets or disclose information, like do something with privacy, the language needs to be very different. Like it's not a normal programming model, because like a normal language doesn't have those concepts. It's like they don't have like the notion of like a secret or encrypted state that only one person has access to. And so we kind of in the development of Noir, there's a lot of features in the language that elevate privacy and private information to a first-class primitive. And so it just makes it easier for an app developer to know, what's public, what's private, and kind of not make, I guess, footprints in their applications to leak information that shouldn't be leaked. So I think a combination of just like not having to be a cryptographer and syntax that's more useful for private information is probably the main benefits. At a kind of more broad level, as I said before, it's not Aztec specific. That we use it internally also to write applications on Aztec. You do write them in Noir with some tooling as well, but lots of other teams use it. Like there's Starknet here, there's people from like WorldCoin use it. There's lots of teams that are using it, And that means that the language itself is like bigger than one company. And so the tooling and the libraries that exist, they work across lots of different application use cases. And so I think that's why we're here at Noircon. It's it's bigger than one company, and that's just been amazing to see the demand for people wanting to write applications that use ZK. So I think that's the third reason that it's just a really cool language. People like it because they can be a part of it.
Yeah,
it's neutral, I guess. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that flexibility component is really great as well. As you mentioned, it's not just the Aztec team who can use Noir, but anyone who wants to write any privacy-preserving applications can use it. So I think that's a really powerful component. And I suppose even on just the overhead side, a lot of ZK VMs, they also have a compiler, and there's naturally more overhead and even related to memory that needs to be considered. And I suppose with having your own ZK DSL, that type of overhead at least is alleviated. And it's great to hear also from the developer experience side. You don't have to be a cryptographer in order to use ZK. I think there's a growing trend for a lot of different ZK infra related projects. They really try to focus their messaging and advocate for being able to enabling developers to be able to focus on writing their applications as opposed to writing circuits.
Yeah.
So they can just focus on the business logic behind their applications, use cases, as opposed to worrying about all of these.
Oh, the infra.
Yes.
Where are the apps? And this lets you go to the apps. So
yes, exactly.
yeah.
So that's great to hear. And since we're at Noircon right now, and I know that you guys also have demo days as well for different applications that are being built using Noir. Are there any that you are very optimistic, excited about, or maybe some applications that haven't been built yet on Noir that you would like to see being built in the near future?
Yeah, I think definitely. So the coolest kind of applications that I think exist for Noir is anything that interfaces with the real world. So for a while, blockchains have tried to be this island, and it's everyone's going to come to us, and that didn't really happen, right? And so they are getting adoption, but at the same time there is a real world, everyone has at least in Western economies as bank accounts, they have things in the real world that operate a bit differently to blockchains. And what I mean by that is the underlying cryptography they use is not normally compatible with blockchains. Noir has this amazing ability because it's kind of, it has both the properties of ZK, it's verifiable compute and privacy. It can interface with the real world very well. And so there's these class of applications that are, meeting real world cryptography where it is. Examples are kind of proof of passport. Inside every passport, there's a lot of cryptography. There's a signature from a government that you can verify and prove you have a passport. And so that's those sort of applications that take a piece of cryptography in the real world and prove something about it, either selectively revealing something, I'm from the UK, are really exciting. The other ones that kind of do a similar thing are in Europe and the UK, we have this system called open banking. It's basically all the banks have signed up to a standard, and they will sign kind of transactions or bank statements with verifiable attestations. So I can pull something from the open banking API from my bank account and it's signed. And so you can get a signature that verifies my account has, 5,000 euros in it. And I spent 2,000 euros on food last month. So you could do all this stuff that's it wasn't possible to take that information on chain before, but now you can, these are kind of primitives, but people can use, but with that information, you can build on-chain lending. I could prove that my income every month is X and my expenditure is Y, and someone could give me a loan as a result. And so all of those use quite, not pretty Web2 cryptography or primitives, but what we're seeing kind of at this Noircon is there's teams building it now, which is amazing. So there's a team building open banking, there's a team building ZK Passport, and these are just going to be this new wave of primitives, I think, that power, I guess, the next wave of on-chain finance that's it's linked to the real world. And that's, I think, just really fascinating because like it's no longer speculating on some price of asset that's like got a picture of a dog on it. It's like someone I can use, or someone who maybe doesn't have as much access to finance could use, because it's actually more connected with the real world financial ecosystem.
Yeah,
So
nice.
that's
Providing that link.
Yeah.
It's really cool. And in terms of any kinds of upcoming developments or any things that we should anticipate down later in the roadmap, are there any sort of announcements that you'd like to make on behalf of Aztec?
Yeah, so we've been kind of hard at work on our testnet. Like we've had the first kind of version out for, I guess, 8 weeks now. And that version, it is fully decentralized, but it doesn't have one property, which is kind of, I guess, people being penalized for bad behavior. And so at the moment, like, our team has to just remove people manually who are not doing the job. And so the next version, which we're calling adversarial testnet, it will implement our governance slashing system, which is like the last piece before kind of going to mainnet. And so we're going to have this system where nodes can remove misbehaving nodes. Like if you're running a node and it goes offline, you get like a few chances. If you're not back online, you're going to get slashed and kicked out of the set. And so yeah, we're going to run kind of a series of challenges like in our Discord to kind of, reward who's top performing nodes. We're going to kind of, gamify slashing. So like if someone's been slashed 10 times, like we have some fun things happening in Discord. And so we'll run that for kind of like four to 6 weeks. If it all goes well and everything performs as intended, we'll then kind of start going to audits and prepping for mainnet. So yeah, it's going to be an exciting kind of like 3-month period, which starts with our new kind of like adversarial testnet. For people who can go to our docs, run a node and join. It's permissionless, so there's it's pretty easy to join.
Yeah, nice. So very busy and also exciting next couple of months coming up.
More gray hairs.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Joe, for coming in and for chatting.
Awesome.
And yeah, amazing job by the Aztec team for both this event and also for all of the recent developments. And congratulations on the testnet launch, and very excited to see all the next version of the testnet coming out.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. It's been fun.
Thank you.
Thanks.